My job now is to introduce Laurie Zierer, if I've got that right. Somebody said rhymes with mirror, okay, from PA Humanities, and she's going to present findings from the PA CultureCheck, okay? So let's welcome Laurie.
Thank you very much. And I'm going to be sharing the stage with Patricia Wilson Aden from the Greater Philadelphia Cultural Alliance. But first, before sharing anything about PA CultureCheck, I think it's time to thank the Arts and Culture co-chairs for putting this together and all their staff that has worked tirelessly to put those blue folders together and to mobilize. So a big round of applause and thank you to these artists. And also, I thank you to you. You are a sector that is strong, creative, and resilient, and you show up to have your voice heard. And you did so in PA CultureCheck. PA CultureCheck is a study that PA Humanities and the Greater Philadelphia Cultural Alliance does annually. PA Humanities is a resource not only for local but state and national leaders around trends around arts and culture. Yes, strong, creative, and resilient, but we identify the trends that are happening so that we can inform policymakers and government to show and demonstrate the importance of funding. Because each of you came here strong, creative, and resilient to tell your story, but you have a different story all across the state. We heard as part of our study, if you were in Philadelphia and you were a museum, that a national audience was back, but the local was not. Monday through Friday, it was crickets. Students weren't coming back. The weekends were strong. In Pittsburgh, a theater, single ticket buyers, wow, have a lot of single ticket buyers, but what happened to those series buyers? It's a significant shift in the way that folks are consuming and celebrating culture. A festival in the middle of Pennsylvania, local is back, but far, anybody coming from outside the counties, they're not back. Well, there's data around that. 70% are local, and those translate into dollars of $25 per person. For national, $50. Start to do the math. You add inflation and changing patterns, and you've got some challenges. Strong, creative, and resilient. But let me share some of the data with you. And if you take a look around you, you may see a handout that says PA CultureCheck. You can pick that up. There's a QR code. Please, use it. Start looking at the data. Patty is going to share some stories for the Philadelphia area, but I just want to give you some key facts that we have found in listening sessions as well as our survey. Since 2019, attendance is down 20%. Let me repeat that. Since 2019, attendance is down 20%. Additionally, hiring, 59% of the cultural sector is reporting hiring difficulties. Add that to inflation. Additionally, 46% are reporting a reduction with volunteers. But with all of that, strong, creative, and resilient, the arts and culture sector is continuing to grow their audiences and serve their communities. Another very important percentage, 96% of arts and cultural organizations are working on community issues. Most are working on education, but unrecognized, they are also working on food security, gun violence, the carceral system. They are embedded in essential parts of our community. So please take a look at our findings and talk about your work today and what you're doing in the community. So Patty, do you want to talk a little bit about Philadelphia?
Thank you, Laurie. So, as Laurie was saying, I'm Patty Wilson Aden. I'm the president and CEO of the Greater Philadelphia Cultural Alliance. The Cultural Alliance has been around since 1976. But since then, our mission has evolved as the cultural community has evolved. Today, we're deeply, deeply engaged in amplifying the voice of the cultural sector. And I should change that. We're amplifying the voices, plural, of the cultural sector, because we understand that the cultural sector is very diverse, comprised of many, many disciplines, comprised of organizations with various budgets. But we are powerful, resilient, and we are embedded in making change in our communities. Now, we don't do that in a vacuum. We are impacted by all of the things that are going on in our larger community. And what CultureCheck discovered is that the rebound is really a challenge. Now, the Cultural Alliance is involved in advocacy and research. We serve over 400 organizations within the Philadelphia region. And we're leaning into that advocacy and research in partnership with PA Humanities. We all know that as arts organizations, we have limited resources, but there's power in collaboration. And through working with PA Humanities, we've been able to do the research in CultureCheck that has generated that unbiased, factual information that we hope all of you will share with your elected officials as you walk the halls today. This is your opportunity to make the case. And while we talk about how arts warms our soul, we also talk about economic impact. We talk about employment, but we also talk about community change. And that community change is very, very real. As Laurie was saying, 95% of our organizations, especially since the pandemic, are committed to change within their communities. Social impact programming. We are in the schools. We are doing food pantries. We are doing social justice work. And this is making a difference. But we do have our challenges. And CultureCheck documented just what Laurie was saying, that we have, since the pandemic, seen an uneven rebound. Now, many of our museums and larger institutions are now functioning at pre-pandemic levels, but those in the theater community have really been challenged to get a hold of this changing audience behavior. How many folks here are from the theater community? How many of you represent theaters? What we found, and you guys tell me whether this is true, what we found was that 85% of theaters are still struggling. Only 15% of theaters are at pre-pandemic levels. What we are dealing with is the perfect storm of a number of factors. Changing audience behavior. You know, we're a Netflix community now. We like to consume our entertainment on the couch. In Philadelphia, there are concerns about perceptions of public safety. Are you dealing with the cost of production and looking at how people, what opportunities there might be to work collaboratively on productions? Subscriptions are no longer the way that people buy their tickets. So these theaters are looking around and looking for support. We're doing the creative work to come up with new business models, but we can't do this alone. And this is why we're here today. We cannot do this alone. Laurie said that I was to talk specifically about Philadelphia. I will tell you that the per capita spending in Philadelphia is 4 times lower than the per capita spending on arts in New York City. That means that New York is investing 4 times as much in arts and culture as Philadelphia is. Denver is double what Philadelphia invests. That's a problem, because this is not just about entertainment. And yes, entertainment is core to what we do, but it is about the well-being of our residents. It is about the economic vitality of our neighborhoods. And if we are not investing in those core values of our communities, then we are losing the opportunity. We are not leveraging the resources that arts and culture brings to the table as we should. So I hope that you look at CultureCheck, you use this resource as you make your visits today, because the data is there. And yes, while we want to impact people's hearts, we also want to change their minds. And you change their minds by providing that unbiased data that CultureCheck has generated. We're so proud of the work that we do in cooperation, in collaboration with PA Humanities, because we believe that we can make a difference by generating this kind of information. That's why we're so happy to share it with you. This is your resource to make change. It's how you tell your story. So thank you very much. We hope that you will use CultureCheck, hope that you will go to our website and think of us as a resource. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, you want to take this off? You know, we heard some really interesting information, and as they were giving that, I remember the former president when I worked at the Kimmel Center, Ann Ewers. I don't know if anyone knows Ann. She's writing a book on the arts, but says transforming lives through the arts. That was her big slogan, and that's something we could use here.